Hello, this is Bonnie, and today we're going to be working on making a different type of a card, kind of like removing ink, which I've done before, but this one's a little bit different than what I've done before. So anyway, the only stamp I'm planning to use is the Forest Firs, and I'm going to actually be using the two ones that are the tallest. I am also going to be using chipped Sapphire and Blueprint Sketch and Stormy Sky. And I'm going to be using my blending brushes for that. And this is a 5.5 inch square cardstock. It's a little bit thicker. So I wanted, because I knew I was going to probably be using a little bit of water on this. So the first thing you need to do is I'm going to be starting with chipped Sapphire, and I'm not going to do this whole thing in front of you because you know how to fill your backgrounds. And this needs to be pretty saturated because we're going to be doing, we're going to be lifting this ink back off. And you can see probably I'm going to be working at this for a little while because my ink pad is a little bit dry. So basically we're going to be blending this all together, and I'm going to be doing the layers so that they all blend in really well. And like I said, it really does need to be dark in the background. So I'm going to be adding a lot of ink. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have my paper as saturated as I think that it needs to be. You can still see there's a little bit of light spots. The next step is to use VersaMark. I've not done it this way before, but I'm going to give it a try. What they want you to do, one of the instructions that I found, is first of all, I cleaned off my two stamps. They were saturated with VersaFine Clear Nocturne, and I was pretty sure if I stamped it, I've done that before with a VersaMark, a little bit of the black will come off and be in the background. I don't know that I've got this perfectly, so there still might be a little bit of a shade, but I'm okay with that. So anyway, so all we have to do is position this on here where you want, and I'm just going to be making a line of fir trees. That's all I'm going to be doing for this part. And how they want you to stamp it to get this reaction is, like I said, the VersaMark. Make sure you get that on there. And then they want you to lightly mist it. And I'm going to be using the Distress Sprayer to lightly mist that. And I'm going to have to be careful because I know that it makes, that's pretty good. It makes the stamps move when there's water behind it. So I'm trying to be careful not to have that happen. So I'm just going to press it down because basically what I'm trying to do is lift off that ink with just water. Okay, we've got a little bit. I need a little bit more. I can see that I didn't get enough water on that. So this is a good test I want you to see, because lots of times you'll say, oh, that's so cool what they just did, and then you don't see the whole bit of it. So that's covered in water now. I'm going to make sure. Okay. And I'm going to wipe actually around that just to prevent my stamp from moving for right now. And that should work. And this is the key to see how well we can get that to take that ink off and be a little bit more detailed. There we go. That's what I want. So I needed just to add a little bit more ink to that. And it looks like it's just a white tray. It's really cool. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to go all the way across, but I'm just going to show you a couple so you can see how I'm doing that process. So the next one's going to be, I'm not going to have it too close to it. It is defined, but it's not going to be, in my case, I'm not going to have it a perfect straight line. And this is going to work. All right, and a little bit of a spray, a mist. And I want to make sure I've got that covered this time. Hopefully, and like I said, this is good because I want you to watch because I added a little bit more water this time, and I want to see if I did too much. All right, I can actually see when I press down that the water is there. And you can see how long I'm keeping it on. Oh, I like that one too. That works out much better. I like that process. So adding a little bit more water did make a difference. So we'll do one more, and then I'll go ahead and finish this off. So you can see what I'm doing. I think I am going to go ahead with a little bit of overlapping. And just remember that you don't want to get any other probably water, although I don't think it hurts to get more water on there. And again, I don't know that this VersaMark is making a big difference, but it seems to be helping, I think. I just want to make sure I got enough water on there. And I'll wipe it around. Oops. Now you see, you could probably go one step further. I would bet you could actually even use, you could probably even use embossing powder over that, but then I think it would go over everything, so I probably wouldn't do that because it's going to pick it up in the background. I probably wouldn't use embossing powder. Now that worked out really, really well. So yep, water helps. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way across, and I think I'm going to consider something up above, but for right now, I'm just going to do this, and I'll be back. Okay, so I decided to add 2 more stamps to the background. I'm going to be using, this is called Sparkle Dust, and I'm going to be using Moon Dust. And I'm not sure because it's a smaller dotted stamp how well that's going to show up. But we're going to go ahead and give it a try. I wanted to make it so that, I think it's best. Yeah, I wanted it to fit in here, but I think it goes this way. So I might have to go a little bit over. I didn't want to go too high because I don't think I'm going to keep the full height of this. Trying to see which way I like it the best. All right, hopefully I'm not making a mistake, but I'm going to go ahead and add it there. I think that looks good. And my finger had a little bit of water on it, so that's going to take a little bit away right there. So, alrighty, let's see. Totally reacts with water. All right, same concept, and we're going to go right there. It might just end up being kind of like a blob, but again, it's okay. This is how we are going to learn to see whether or not this is a thing to do. Oh no, it's not too bad. I do have a little bit of, I think the stars aren't showing up. The moon is showing up. The stars are a little bit different. I think I'm going to try that just one more time with a little bit more water, but because I can still feel the ink on there. I want to make sure that they get a little bit of water on them, so I'm going to put my finger deliberately with water on those stars. See if that makes a difference. I know they're tinier, and that might be the key, is not to use something too small. Yeah, that's a bit better, but I think I'm probably gonna just mist that just to give me a look up there, but I really wanted the moon, so that works. So the question is, do I try the smaller one? I'm gonna go ahead and do it just so that you can see how it looks. And I'm actually gonna go, well, I'm not gonna go over that because it won't work. And it's okay. because I still think I'm going to do a little bit of misting in the end. All right, make sure that stays down. Again, I always try to do things so you can say, okay, is this what I want to do? To me, I think the best way to learn is to see people make mistakes or just to see other ways to do it. I think if you show, okay, this is the only way that it works, that gives nobody a chance to really learn. It's not about perfection, it's about learning. All right, let's see if this works. I try to make sure I put my finger on those stars, and I think that works better to make sure there was water on them. So like I said, the little itty bitty dots on there didn't really show up, but maybe I can do that with my finger. I'm going to spray a little bit of water on my finger, and I'm just going to touch that whole thing again. I think that works better than the misting. For the smallest, if I'm going to use small stamps. I think that works. So I'm going to leave it, I think I'm going to do one more, just to kind of balance it off a little bit over here. Make sure I have my stamp right. And in this case, I'm not going to mist it, I'm just going to use my finger after I stamp it. And I'll show you that a little bit clearer over here how I do that. It's kind of hard to see. All right, so I'm just going to mist my finger. A little bit of water. And I'm just going to touch the top of that and go that way instead. Yeah, I think it needs more. So that's good to learn. Needs a little bit more water. Okay, that did show up. Again, I don't know that this is the route that I would go, but it's going to work for what I'm going to do overall. So, the next thing I'm going to do is very lightly is I am going to mist the top of this. So in order to do the misting, if you know about Tim Holtz's Distress Sprayer, if you hold it just, if all you do is slightly squeeze it, it's going to get big drops. If you want small drops, you have to kind of have it away and just do a mist. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, I did get some big drops because I probably didn't hold it all the way down, but that's okay. It'll all blend in together. And I'm going to use a piece of paper and pick some of that up. And that's going to work. So now what I need to do is let this dry, and this isn't all it's going to be. I have at least 2 more steps to this, but I wanted to give you an idea of what to start with. And you're going to see there's a little bit of warping in there. That's because this paper probably could have been even thicker, watercolor paper, but I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm probably going to heat set that a little bit so that it's a little bit more straight. I'll be back. Okay, so for the background of the card, I'm very simply going to add some stars, and I'm making a 5x7 card. So I've cut this one down to 4 3/4 and 6 3/4 because I'm going to have like a border for my card. I'm going to be using my favorite, the Distress Oxide Lost Shadow. I like the subtle background that this gives. And you can see this is a 6x6 stencil, but I am going to still use this for the top and the bottom. And like I said, all I'm going to be doing is adding the stars randomly just to get a subtle background. And right now I'm not getting that, so I need to do it a little bit harder. This is my favorite ink pad. I am already probably going to have to buy a second one. That's how much I've used it. Okay, that's what I want. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I get as much on here as I can of the stars. And then what I'm going to do, which I'll show you, is how I'm going to do the bottom. Because you can always use a 6x6 stencil depending on what your design is, really, on a bigger piece of paper. I'm going to turn this around. Whoops, I'm going to have to match that back up again. Not a big deal because I'm not going over the same spot. Okay. It's still really light. Let's see. Yep, we got it kind of light. All right, now we're going to go ahead and make sure we get the bottom as well. And I think what I'm going to do, nope, I'm going to keep it the same way. I'm just going to go like this. Well, actually, I want to get it just underneath there. Yep. Yep, I need a little bit more, so we'll just add it. And I'm going to put a little bit more there. There we go. So that's going to be our background for what we're making. It's really super. I really, really love this ink and that stencil works great. All right, so I'm going to get the rest of it prepared. Okay, so I have the card base completed. And so the next step that I want to do is I'm actually going to cut this into sections. I don't really need that open. So I'm just going to look at this and figure out, okay, where about do I want these cut? And the deal is this. I'm not really sure if I'm going to use 3 or just 2. Depends on how wide I cut them. So I know I want this section here in the center. So you know what? I'm going to cut that one first. And then figure out where I want the rest. Let me put that down a little bit further for you. So that is going to be one section that I'm going to be using on my card. So now I want to look at this and see what other sections I want. Now technically if I just do 2, then I can have another piece for another card, depending how big you make it. So I think I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this one about in half. And to be honest with you, I think I'm going to save this one. This one can even work for a bookmark. And I can get 2 projects out of one. So I'm going to probably be cutting some of this off. And I'm going to be lining it up so that it has a different design. So, and then the other thing I'm going to do to this is I have some glitter paper. And I'm going to mat each one of those and then put those on. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these to the length that I want, this way, horizontally, and then I'll go ahead and mat them, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm adding the last strip to this card, and so far you can see how I have cut it apart, and I have matted each one with the white glitter paper, and that actually makes these pieces even more stable, but you do not have to use foam tape. You can just have it straight away attached to your card. I'm trying to match that up. Okay, so it's a little bit straight. Yeah, there we go. I always try to look all the way around. Sometimes it helps me. So that would be the card. You can still add a sentiment right across here. A black one would look really good. You know, like a white on black paper would look really pretty there. So I wanted to show you with the other piece what I did that I had left. I told you I could make a tag. I decided to use a Sentimentally Yours. I've been using these a lot for fairy hugs. They work really, really well. And the one that I made was the smallest. Let me show you. These are quite substantial. You can see from the side how large these are. This is the smallest one. And I cut the inside, and then I cut the outside with the white glitter paper. Let's see if you can see the white glitter. Yeah, and then I did the little teeny tiny hole for the center. So this would work really good as a gift with your card too, if you wanted to do it that way, or a tag on a card or on a present. You could add anything down here. Again, you can add a sentiment. You could add snowflakes. You could do whatever. So I just wanted to give you some inspiration for what you can do that's a little bit different, and I still think it works really good for Christmas or really even winter. I just want to thank you for stopping by, and I will have the supplies I use below in the description. Looks like I'm a little bit crooked. And I just again want to thank you for stopping by. Thanks so much.